So thank you very much, Nicola. Thank you very much for everyone who is here. It's a real privilege for me to, as a resident of Somerset West with a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old, looking, at this community to, send children to school or some other school at some point. It's a real privilege to be with you. Nicola just mentioned I'm with a non-profit human rights organization. We obviously do the advocacy type of work. We're in court, we engage with parliament, engage with state structures, government departments, and so on. But tonight, I just quickly want to touch on the context of, discussion, sex, gender, and children when it comes to schools, specifically the role of a school governing body. So many of us in this room will have had some engagement around, the role of a school governing body and what that entails. But what I just quickly want to focus on is school rules and things like code of conduct. So in terms of the South African Schools Act, the content of school rules and of, code of conduct, but also the basis for exceptions to those, so where you make exceptions. All of that falls within the legislative authority of a school governing body at individual school level. So I'm talking about a public school. And that obviously places an incredibly high responsibility on a school governing body towards its community. So it also includes things like adopting a school constitution, also a mission statement for the school. And also want to say that the parents of each school constitute a majority on the school governing body. So if a school governing body consists of 11 members, then there must be at least 6, because the parents of the school must at least be a majority on that school governing body. And also the SGB chair must always be a parent of the school. So I'm referring to specific sections now as I speak of the South African Schools Act, sections 8, 20, 23, and 29. So before I lead into introducing Professor Rodseth, the point I would like to make is that parents, through a majority on their school governing body, they determine the school rules and also the basis and the manner for allowing exceptions to school rules. That's the situation within a public school. And the SGB, therefore, is there to represent the interests of all parents and of all children in their community, and that must be in a fair manner. The challenge we have in a plural society like South Africa is that we sit with an ideologically, philosophically, religiously diverse community, all working together in the best interest of this school community, whatever the school may be. I was in Paul Roos Gymnasium, so let's use that as an example. People with very diverse backgrounds and beliefs and commitments and philosophies that underlie their engagement in the world come together, and now they've got to, determine what is the path that we sit on and what is in the best interest of our school community. It's a very difficult thing to then incorporate rules that make provision for everyone's, let's say, preferences, everyone's views, everyone's convictions about life and things like that. So it becomes very difficult. It places a very high responsibility on a school governing body to engage with its constituency. How will one know how to represent, the people in your community's views if you don't know them? Okay, this is a general point. It's not applicable only to school governing bodies, but in general, that's the only way that you could represent someone if you knew what their views were on a specific issue. To close that, this part off, I'll just say that in our society at the moment, there is not an overarching consensus about a couple of the things that play into a discussion and, the issue at hand today. There's not an overarching consensus about the meaning of gender, for example. There's not an overarching consensus about what is the meaning of boy and what is the meaning of girl. All right, so many people will have many different views and interpretations of, these concepts. And the quest for a school governing body trying to negotiate, and make rules and make exceptions will be to determine what is in the best interest of the children in our community. If we look at Section 28.2 of the South African Constitution, it's the main principle underlying our Constitution. The best interests of the child is of paramount importance in every matter affecting the child. And obviously, we're talking about a school community. In Port Louis, we used to be about 1,000. It's probably about 1,200 boys by now. So we're talking about, what is in the best interest of a diverse community consisting of 1,200 boys, as an example. And that's where it's important to find out from the school community. So what do you say is in the best interest of the children? Your worldview, or your belief system, or your way of looking at the world, what do you have to offer in terms of what is in the best interest? How do we go forward in our own communal best interest? So these are the kind of things that are going to come up more and more in diverse communities like public schools. So I think my first comment, this is what I will close off with before I introduce Professor Rodseth, is that we need to, I'm including myself because, I'm basically there in a couple of years. We need to start getting comfortable with the uncomfortableness that's involved in a lot of these discussions, right? Because this is the world that we live in. If we are going to be in a public school environment, this is the reality. We have a diverse community, and we need to engage, from a place of mutual respect and concern. So I want to hear what you have to say, and let me give you the reasons why this is my view, and I might have evidence to back up what I'm saying. All right, so I don't want to labor the points I'm making, but, I would close off with that I love what I'm seeing today, right? Coming together, parents, you don't know, what each other's views may be around these issues, but here we are, and this is a wonderful thing that we can come together and start having these discussions. All right, so